My Blazer's a lot of things. Stock is not one of those things. So with my new suspension and 40s, I needed to stuff some serious shocks in this thing. So I got 14 inches in the front and 12 inches in the back. There's a couple ways to go about doing this. Your factory mounts on these, if you just try to put extended shocks in those, a lot of times you run out of travel with them because it's so close to where they mount to the axle that you just can't fit enough shock in there. It ends up being your limiting factor. So the common thing a lot of people do, and it's easier and it's worked forever, it's a great option, but it keeps your lower stock mounts, which hang below the axle, is you can get the Ford F-250, I think they're F-250, F-250, F-350 shock towers from the older Fords, and they just kind of go somewhere right around where your factory shock would be, and then they mount down where your lower shock would be. I said no. All right, well, to start here, we're gonna get these factory lower shock brackets cut off, and then we'll get these lower mounts located that also gusset the inner C. All right, so this stack of washers in here is just a tiny bit thicker than the bushings on my shocks so that they can slip in and out without fighting. So we're gonna place these where we want it, which will be angled back just a tiny bit. So they're gonna run center line with the axle and centered up to my spring mounts and all that stuff, since the way the axle goes, as it compresses, the axle comes back and up, and as it falls away, it goes down and away. So we want this to be where the shock's gonna follow that same trajectory. So we'll get this tacked on. All right, so here's the plan. I'm gonna roll this forward. I dropped my board, whatever. I'm gonna roll that forward to where I like it. Get down below, measure it where, like mark it down here, where it's gonna be, right down there, where it'll be where I want to tie it into the frame. I'm gonna do some little kickouts off the frame. So I'm gonna get this to where it's more vertical and it's gonna be sitting a little closer to the shaft. I've got that little breadboard box as a spacer, and I'm hoping that under suspension droop and compression that this doesn't hit anything. But I'll watch it slowly next time I'm around a forklift. If it taps the frame at all, I can clearance, do a little notch in the frame right there. If it gets into this steering, then I'll build a little kick out off of the frame for a support, and I'll add another joint in here, and we'll just kick it away just enough that the shock has room. Because if I do outside of my steering shaft and I put it way out here, I've got a ton of leverage on my hoops, and then I'm into my Hydro Boost lines here, and I'm into all my air conditioning lines and stuff over there. And I don't know about you guys, but my wife likes having air conditioning, and if I don't have air conditioning, she probably won't go places with me. So that needs to remain intact. So we're gonna have to do some workarounds to make that work, or I might get lucky and my approximation will make it not hit anything, and that would be ideal. But let me know in the comments. I know I end up doing a lot of time lapses with a little background music and stuff while I'm doing things. If I'm not explaining it there, let me know what you guys like. What would make my content a little bit better for you? What would help you enjoy it more? Like, would you like me to slow it down and just kind of talk through what I'm doing while I'm doing it? Or do you like me kind of explaining it and then time-lapsing it? Or do you just like me explaining it and then there's just cut out the time-lapse and show you the finished product of that whole step? Let me know so I can serve you guys up better content. And we made hoops and then plates to gusset the inner C with the axle shaft. I got my shaft also welded to my carrier down in there. So that's gonna add a lot of beef and strength to this part. And I got all 14 inches of travel up in there, and these hoops tucked up in there next to the motor. All right, so we're all set up here. And I just want to show you this. Since I'm landing these on 1 3/4 and this is 1.5 tube, I've got this guy spaced out. You can see a little washer in there. So then it's centered on this 1 3/4 inch. Then we go to the back. I've got the 12 inches in here. Alright, so we're going to get our lower mounts tacked into place. I already painted the inside because I won't be able to paint that when it's on there. And it's all TIG welded inside. So, I marked 1 inch off of the U-bolt. That way they can be the same on both sides, and we're going to set them to 0 degrees because my truck's leveled. So we're on our 1 inch. $90. No. Boom. Murder she wrote. So now we're gonna get this top bar in. I'll bring you in under here while we get that all figured out. I don't want to cut holes on my floor right now, so I've got them tucked up about as close to the floor as I can get on a cross member. They're leaned in a little bit more than I like, so their effective rate's not optimal, but they work plenty good. I mean, you're only gonna dampen this ride so much. This thing's on real soft springs. It's real flexy, as you can see. It's got a little bit more room to go in the front. Like I'll mention in the video, I was worried with how I stuffed it up in the steering box. It's all tucked up in there because I've got them tucked in so close. It looks like I clear my steering box on, or my steering shaft on full compression, but I'm just touching my frame right here. So I'm gonna need to go in and notch this out, give myself a little bit more clearance here and plate that. And then I'm also gonna make some aluminum covers, like a heat shield for the back of this so these shocks don't get hot from being so close to my headers. Well, there you have it, guys. That's how I stuffed big shocks somewhere they don't belong. If you like content like this and you want to see more with this truck, you can go ahead and click right in this range. And if you want to stick around and see whatever else we get up to, you can go ahead and click around right up there, and that'll take you to that. And remember, if you don't get started, you'll never get finished.